Fed's Waller backs every other massive price hike for all-in inflation fight. Federal Reserve Governor Christopher Waller on Saturday have become the latest U.S. primary banker to pledge a whatever-it-takes method to fighting inflation, 3 days after the Fed raised interest costs via 0.75 of a percentage factor and signaled greater hikes to come back. If the data is available in as I expect, I will assist a similar-sized pass at our July assembly, Waller advised a Society for Computational Economics conference in Dallas. The Fed is all in on re-establishing charge balance. A surge in inflation, that's at its maximum degree in 40 years, has made hawks of almost all Fed policymakers, simplest one in every of whom dissented in advance this week against what become the valuable bank's largest fee increase in extra than a quarter of a century. Policymakers currently count on to elevate the Fed's benchmark overnight interest rate, now in a variety of 1.50 pages C1, 75%, to at least 3.4% in the subsequent 6 months. A year in the past, the majority notion the charge would want to stay close to zero till 2023. On Friday, the Fed called its fight in opposition to inflation unconditional, and Atlanta Fed President Raphael Bostic, who had been its most dovish policymaker, declared, "We'll do something it takes to convey inflation back off to the valuable bank's 2% goal." Inflation, as measured by way of the Personal Consumption Expenditures Price Index, is going for walks at extra than 3 times that stage. "That's the most critical component I'm worried about," Waller stated on Saturday, adding that shifting fees speedy as much as the impartial stage and into restrictive territory is important to slow demand and position to take a look at on inflation. That financial tightening will probably pressure unemployment, now at 3.6%, to among 4% and 4.25%, or probably higher, Waller said, "But my purpose is simply to gradual the economic system." Rising issues that Fed fee hikes will motive a recession, he stated, are a chunk overblown. Waller additionally stated there are limits to how speedy the Fed can flow. Markets would have a coronary heart attack if the central bank raised charges via a complete percent factor in a unmarried circulate. Risk of overshoot. Speaking on the equal event in Dallas, former Fed Vice Chair Donald Cohn blamed excessive inflation in component on a selection to delay the tightening of policy that he traced to a framework the U.S. crucial bank followed in 2020. That framework dominated out elevating rates to preempt inflation prompted by way of falling unemployment. Waller, but, argued that it changed into the Fed's overly specific guarantees approximately whilst it might give up its huge asset purchases, implemented in 2020 to safe haven the economy from pandemic-related fallout, that have been at fault. Structural adjustments to the financial system mean there's a decent chance the Fed will in the destiny want to again minimize its coverage fee to zero and buy bonds to fight even a regular recession, he stated. Waller said, subsequent time, he would guide much less restrictive guarantees across the stop of bond purchases and more readability round not simply while the Fed could start to tighten policy however also how speedy. If the Fed says it'll not begin raising prices until the hard work marketplace is at full employment, as it did inside the current cycle, markets have to be primed to recognize that borrowing prices could be driven up right away once fees begin to rise. Cohn, for his part, entreated a few warning once fees are excessive sufficient to start slowing inflation, caution that the Fed risks overshooting on its dreams. It calls for judgment and self-assurance to realize whilst to go into reverse, Cohn said.